Well, today's topic is self-remembering. A very simple concept, but in the words self-remembering themselves that are not very self-explanatory. In what is known as the fourth way, it is explained as holding the sensation, I am here. Very simple, but that's just the beginning. To hold the sensation, I am here. Do we normally do that? That question is put forth in the literature of the fourth way. Do we normally hold the sensation, I am here? Are we normally aware of ourselves? And the exercise is given, to try it. To hold the sensation, I am here. Not just the thought, I am here, but literally the sensation. To be aware of yourself, to hold awareness of yourself. And then compare that to how you normally are. And you need to do this, several times before it makes any sense. What the conclusion people come to if they do it a few times is that no, we normally aren't aware of ourselves. We are what is called identified with the environment around us and what we're doing and what we're thinking, and self is not in our own observations, and it is quite an interesting phenomenon. And the question is, what does it mean?
I've got the mic again. I realise now, foolishly, I managed to muff the intro moment because I tend not to look at the screen, and when I'm talking, I'm looking up in the corner of the room, and it sort of passed me by. I think I would want to say something as regards an intro to that. It only means anything or make any sense at all in the context of being aware how self-forgotten we are. So it starts, or can begin to make any sense, when we cotton on to the extent to which we are truly mechanical. And there is no self there, remembered or otherwise. There's just nothing there, and it's just all mechanical reactions to everything. You have to get a handle on that for starters. And then the ghastliness of that situation hits you, or the terror of the situation, as Gurdjieff talks about, mentions it. And that's the sort of field of battle, if you like. That's it. That's the context in which the challenge to remember yourself arises, makes sense, has a point, has a purpose. And then, that can become a sort of pointer or something for your life. Then, I think it's important to think that the thing starts on the very simple. That is one end of the sliding scale, to realise that you're actually mechanical, you're really asleep, you're not awake. That's the beginning of cottoning on, beginning of waking up. And then it goes all the way to somewhere which is going to be a conscious, eternal, forever sane figure, some such phrase I used earlier on. And obviously we're very much at the lower end of that sliding scale, but not to get hung up on the complexity of definitions and when it is or is not the case, but just cotton on to the elements in yourself that are awake and aware of the parts of yourself that aren't, and have them be running your life more and more and become more authentic and less false. That, I think, is what it's about. And that field of forgetting, that's the thing where it starts. You have to realise that you're mechanical, asleep, forgotten, and then the challenge to self-remember begins to make sense.
Yeah. When it comes to self-remembering, I think that it's very useful to remember what Phil said about the sliding scale. It's not an either-or thing. But the one thing that I did want to stress about self-remembering, it is something that we can make an effort toward as individuals. We can make the effort to remember ourselves right now, right here. We don't need a group. We don't need a teacher. We can make that effort to attempt to become more clarified and to understand our being in the context of our environment. To remember myself is to be aware of my emotions, my thoughts, my posture, and everything that surrounds me in this world, including even the far and distant reaches of the universe. If I am completely clarified, I believe that to remember myself in the context of being this little tiny speck in this great, almost virtually infinite universe is something that is a part of self-remembering as well. Its simple definition, though, I will say is this: if you're angry and you know it, clap your hands. You know, this is how we clap hands at paltalk, with a line full of C's. You know, like when you're at the music groups and somebody plays a song that you like. At the end of the song, you type in, just as I'm doing right now, a bunch of C's, and you're clapping your hands. Now, I just say that as an augmentation of what I'm trying to say. If you're angry and you know it, if you're happy and you know it, if you're intellectualizing and you know it, clap your hands. You know, that's what we do. When we observe ourselves, we try to make sense of what we're doing right now, what the context of what we're doing right now is, and how we feel about all that. That's the context of self-remembering, in my opinion. Tarkus, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the topic of self-remembering, you know, as I said earlier, it sounds simple, you know, hold the sensation I am here and see where that leads. But there's entire books written to try to explain the whole of it. And I wanted to recommend some reading. There's two books by P.D. Ouspensky, Ouspensky. One is called The Fourth Way, the other is called In Search of the Miraculous. These are two great books that get down and dirty on this whole system, and it really is a system. The beginning point is self-remembering and self-observation, but I would highly recommend those two books.